Hi, this is Janey Imaani and welcome to Emotional Awareness. So on today's episode, we're going to look at how some of us might be apologising when we actually shouldn't be. So our last episode, which was called Why We Won't Apologise, triggered a few people because for them, the problem wasn't that they didn't know how to apologise, but they apologised all the time, even though something wasn't their fault. So here is a message from one of our viewers. Hi Janey Imaani, I love all your videos. But your episode about why we won't apologise triggered me because in many of my relationships, especially with my wife, I'm always the one apologising even though I'm not the only one in the wrong. Like the other day, she broke a glass and I ended up apologising for putting it in the wrong place. I know it's good to be the bigger person and not make a big deal about the small things, but this is getting really tiring. What shall I do? So in order to protect his privacy, let's call the viewer Adam. So Adam, this is a really good question because many of us do apologise not because we made a mistake, but for other reasons. And perhaps it's because we don't like conflict, or we don't like the idea of the other person disliking us or thinking ill of us. Or sometimes it's because we're not very sure of ourselves to begin with and we always assume that we must be the one who is in the wrong. So what we're going to do is really begin by looking at 3 of the most common ways that most of us respond to conflict or shame. So the first one is moving against. So that's when you fight and you get aggressive, right? So basically you fight shame with shame. So if we were going to use Adam's example, that would be him saying to his wife, oh, you're so clumsy, you can't do anything right, you don't even know how to clean the kitchen without breaking something. So the second most common way is moving away. So that's when you hide, you secret keep, you don't really say what you think and feel when there is a conflict or you feel like you're in shame. And the third way, which seems like what Adam is doing, is called moving towards. So moving towards is people pleasing, saying whatever you want the other person to hear and apologizing even when something is not your fault. So those are the 3 unhealthy ways of responding to conflict. But if you want to build a healthy relationship, the best way to respond is obviously to say what you think and believe without attacking the other person, like I mentioned in the last video. And so, if we keep responding to conflict by getting aggressive or hiding or saying whatever we want the other person to hear, then we're not really showing up as our authentic selves. It's only when we show up as ourselves do we begin to build a real, healthy, connected relationship. So there's another story that I want to share with you guys that kind of gives, a little bit more understanding to this whole situation. So the other day I was speaking to a friend who is now in her 40s, and she said to me when she was younger, she would apologize all the time to her in-laws, even though she was the one that was wronged. And now looking back, she knows that she did that because she desperately wanted their approval and she desperately wanted to belong to that family. And she would say whatever they wanted to hear and she would apologize for whatever they didn't like. And so that makes a lot of sense because love and belonging is one of our primary needs. So in a situation where that love is under threat or that belonging is under threat, we will drop our authenticity and what we truly think and believe about ourselves in a heartbeat just to feel that belonging. So for my friend, it's only when she learned more about herself and she got the support that she needed that she was able to stand up for herself. And so she couldn't have when she was younger because she didn't have the tools, the self-worth or the reassurance to not apologize when she was cornered. And that's the way it is. And so does she regret it? Yes, but could she have stood up for herself at that time when she was younger without the resources? No. And so, I always remember what Maya Angelou says is that, you do the best that you can until you know better. And then when you know better, you do better. And so, as long as we keep growing and learning and looking at ourselves, hopefully, we'll always find a way to help ourselves. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that helped, and please keep your constructive criticism in and your ideas about my videos, whatever it is, because that really helps. So make sure you subscribe and share and take care. Bye.